Bonjour, bonjour, bonsoir, bon après-midi, bonjour à tout le monde. From wherever you are, I'm Lady Marilyne Keto, and I greet you all in the name of the Lord. Yes, I'm happy and very, very excited to be here with another series of wisdom. Thank you for watching us. Go ahead, share this live before we start talking about something very interesting. Okay, let me welcome my coach. Coach LT. Without further ado, here she comes. Boom. Hello, hello, Coach LT.
Hi, Lady MK. How are you?
I'm good. I feel blessed, and I'm very grateful that you made this time available to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, sharing your platform and having a great conversation because I know it's about to be fire up in here. So thank you
It
for
is going
having
to be
me.
fire. Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much. So some people know you, and others don't know you. So can you please help somebody know you better?
Absolutely. My name is Laura Chilumba, but I go by Coach LT in my
Mhm.
health and wellness coaching business. But I really like to consider it as a ministry, and we're going to talk about it a little some more. I was born and raised in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and currently I live in Atlanta, Georgia. By
Mhm.
trades, I am a certified public accountant with about like 15 years, 16 years now of experience with a specialty in international taxation.
Wow.
And by passion, or if you will, by calling, I am a health
Mhm.
and wellness coach. And I
Mhm.
don't I don't take the work lightly because to me coaching is really sacred. And I
Yeah.
like to consider it to be like a healing ministry because I really
Mhm.
guide women into transforming how they feel into their bodies so they
Mhm.
can really nurture it from a place of care, acceptance, love, and respect. So, in a nutshell, this is it about Coach LT. I'm a wife. I am a mother of an
Wow.
11-year-old son. I'm a sister to
Wow.
many. I'm a
Mm,
friend,
mm.
and all of that. And most importantly, I'm the daughter of the Most High. So, yeah.
Wow.
So that's about it about
Wow.
Coach LT, at least for now.
Clearly, the part that got me a little shocked is mother of what again? Who? 11 where?
11-year-olds, yeah, yeah, I have 11-year-olds, yeah,
Mm,
starting like he just starting middle school, so it's another life transition, but yes.
I feel you. I feel you. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations for
you,
all
thank
those
you.
accomplishments. Sometimes people just like to assume who somebody is just by what people
Mm,
say about them rather than just going straight up to the person. Who are you? You know?
exactly,
Instead of just
yeah.
going by what people say. So, what exactly got you into this? Clearly, you have a lot of, interest in things that really are passionate to you. You could have
hmm
been giving ministry in many other ways, but you chose this one. Why?
it's interesting because I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Okay. Hmm.
And the pandemic, although it was interesting in all the ways you can think of, it was really a blessing in disguise for me
Hmm.
because it has allowed me to pause, right? Like
Hmm.
I lead a very busy life, like it's ridiculous. It was so ridiculous that when the pandemic, started, it allowed me to just pause.
Hmm.
And I started what I call now like a healing self-love journey. And
Hmm.
during that journey, I realized that I didn't love myself the way I need to love myself, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
part of the journey, I started like really taking care of myself. And out of that was birth really this coaching business. I never in a million years thought that I would be a coach. Never ever, right? It's still very scary. It's still something that I'm like, am I really doing this? But it
Hmm.
chose me, right? And
Hmm.
I feel like everything that has transpired in my life and
Hmm.
all the healing, because healing is a journey, there's no destination, right? It's non-linear, it's ever progressing and whatnot. So part of this healing journey really made me realize that I was not alone, that there
Hmm.
was some universality in how I felt about my body, because for
Hmm.
so long after I had my son, I didn't recognize myself. I didn't
Mm,
recognize my body, right?
I
But
can
once I
do.
start sharing my story, I realized I was not the only one.
Exactly.
And that's really how I started coaching, but at the same time too, during that time I was doing some life coaching. I had a coach really going to like some deep inner work, just like
Mm-hmm.
reframing like the programming that I was operating under without
Mm-hmm.
even realizing it. So to answer your question, coaching chose me. I never thought I would be doing this. So for me to even have these conversations, and
Mm,
every time I have like speaking engagement or like talking to people from different platforms or communities, it
mm.
hits me, right? Like, oh yes, I'm really doing this. So it chose me.
Interesting. Wow, wow, wow. I can
Mm-hmm.
relate to what you're saying, and I feel like a lot of mothers also do. After a
Mm-hmm.
pandemic or after a childbirth or after, I don't know, a transition, you just don't recognize yourself. You just like, I think I knew this woman is or this person is, but I don't know. But again, not a lot of people have that courage to like bring the best out of it. A lot of
Yeah,
people just go into,
yeah.
externalizing that. It's the
And
job.
I think a lot of it has to do with the culture around us.
Mm-hmm.
Because as women, and I don't know about you, but like really what I would see when like, I had my son was snatch your body back in like, 3 months or like
Mm,
6 months,
mm,
right? When in my
yes.
case, after 6 months, I was still looking pregnant. Okay.
Mm,
And not only that, but it's also understanding that our bodies change. They have seasons,
mm,
and our identities along the way we also change, right? Like I think we spend a lot of time trying to go back to maybe a phase where we can go back to, right? I mean, we could, but like to what cost? And if you
mm-hmm,
cannot, can you be okay and comfortable with the woman that you are today? And if there are changes to make, because there are always improvements to make here and there, why can
mm-hmm,
we not make those changes from a place of care? Because
mm,
what happened is we have all those deadlines where we feel like, I gotta lose the weight by like 60 days. I gotta lose the weight by
yes.
90 days. And then
Mm,
it just put us in a frenzy. And it
yeah.
also impact our mental health. So I think all
Yes.
those conversations need to be happening. And one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about it is like the
Mm-hmm.
sharing of stories, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, and again, like women go through all those transitions, but because they are not always talked about in our circles,
Mm-hmm.
especially in African communities, we feel alone or we feel like we're
Yes.
the only one when we're not.
Yes, 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 yes. I can relate to what you're saying and I agree. I agree with
Mm-hmm.
you. It's the culture. And usually, what's sad about it, it's the women. The women who went through it
Yes.
who are actually body shaming all the other women
Mm-hmm.
who are
Mm-hmm.
struggling with the very same thing that they personally struggle.
Exactly, exactly. And let's not even talk about like the postpartum. Let's not even start talking about like, the mental health, because
Mm,
all of that impacts us, but we just don't talk about it. We just, people make you feel like, and again, the women around you make you feel like, okay, like, the motherhood, it's so beautiful. You just had this baby and everything is great, when you may not even be able to do certain tasks because you just has this child, or maybe you may feel some feelings of not wanting to be close
exactly.
to Jane, the other side of motherhood as well. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. Don't get me wrong, but it comes to a cost, right?
Mm-hmm,
And we
mm-hmm.
need to start having those conversations, especially in the Congolese community, in the African communities at large, what the cost is and how we can really help mothers to transition and to understand how to take care of themselves during that period, because it just doesn't start at motherhood, it even start like earlier than that, but
Natural,
we just don't take care
exactly.
of ourselves.
Yes, yes, yes. I agree with you on that one. Before we go further,
Mm,
someone would like to know what does it even look like because it's new. This whole thing
mm,
of wellness, self-care around motherhood
mm,
and just even way before that during your, when you're
mm,
growing up, it's strange. It's a new language to a lot of people. Even those who are born
mm.
here, it's a new language. What does it look like for you as a coach?
Yeah, and it is new and not necessarily new. And I think what we struggle with, especially for us women, because we nurture by nature, right? We like to take care of others. And the
Mm-hmm.
self can throw us off because it may feel selfish. And
Yes.
the way that I like to look at it is self care is really about me too. Not me only, but
Mm-hmm.
me too. So I can be able to take care of people who rely on me, to take care of
Mm-hmm.
people who love me, to take care of people who needs me, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you cannot give your best when you're not pouring into you either, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see that all the time. We don't always give it like a language. Like you're always
Mm-hmm.
irritated because you don't sleep enough, or you're always
Yes.
yelling to the kids. You're always like on the edge. It's because you're not taking care of you. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing with self care, and that's something that I'm really trying to embrace myself, and I coach
Mm-hmm.
my clients about it too, is like you have to define what works for you.
Exactly.
Because self care will look different from one person to another, and will
Mm-hmm.
also look different from the same individual from one day to the next, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yes, and I think it's also like, reprogramming what a self care looks like to you. And that's where you see like all the messaging about like that culture, because they spend a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
thriving off of our insecurities. When they will tell
Exactly.
you you have to go to the gym like 6 times a week. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
are in a season where even like working out 30 minutes a day is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So then, do you then just give up and tell yourself, I'm going to wait until, that season is over and
Mm-hmm.
until maybe like the kids are older? No, right? So you kind of have to find a way where, even if that means like 5 minutes of walking and body movements. And again, it's redefining what does workout mean to you? Because like, and again, coming from like a Congolese culture,
Mm-hmm.
workout to me was more like associated with like losing weight, when in
Exactly.
fact the body movements, your body was designed to move. So you
Mm.
have to find body movements that will help you. And again, when you get older, get up, get off the toilet seat,
Mm.
walking. So we kind of have to start thinking of the self-care beyond the physical appearance, beyond just like the
Mm-hmm.
weight loss, right? And
Mm.
for me as a mother, and I know I don't have daughters, and it's different when
Mm.
you have daughters, but like statistics are showing that our daughters,
Mm.
they really get the healthy habit from watching their mothers.
Mm. Mm.
So if you have had a mother who's always like dieting, who's always like complaining about like a stomach, about a body, what's legacy are you leaving your children, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
to me, the way I like to look at self-care now is it's not just about me. It's also
Mm.
about like leaving a legacy. So like
Mm.
what are your children really learning from you? What messaging, even like if it's subtle, like if you don't
Mm.
like to drink water, for example, every
Mm.
time you see like a glass of water, you start go like you're
Mm.
not going to tell your child to drink water because you're sending them mixed messages,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm.
So I think
Very
it's
true.
all of that, and we can have this conversation like all day long, but it's really kind of like changing the narrative and make it work for you. Like I will
Mm.
have clients telling me I can't lose the weight, I'm doing this and that. Then you ask a question, how is your
Mm.
stress level?
Mm.
And you
Mm.
start going through that day, you're just like, oh my God, like how do you function? And
Mm.
maybe for you in this season, it's not about like really worrying about like losing the weight, because your body may be needing sleep. So does
Mm.
it make sense for you to have like 4 hours of sleep and then spending 1 hour at the gym when you could use that hour and
Mhm.
sleep instead, right? But we
Mhm.
so focus on just like the weight, the number on the scale, that we do all kind of crazy things. And I'm not judging anybody because I've been there myself, like
Mhm.
doing crazy diet, like juices, cabbage diet soup, you name it, I've done it, right? But
Yes,
then
indeed.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of like reframing what self-care will look and how
Mhm.
we can make it work in the season we in.
Mm.
Because if you make it part of your life or part of your lifestyle, it will not sound like to be like a lot of work, because some of
Mhm.
the challenges we run into is because what we're trying to make it look like feels like is in addition to what we already have on our plates, and it feels like
Mhm.
too much.
Exactly.
Does that
Exactly.
make sense?
It does. It does big time. It does big time. At the same time, because we live in a society that has been sending certain messages about self-care and
Mhm.
wellness in general, some women just don't want to engage in it, and
Yeah.
others are just ready to do it, and the willpower is just enough to drive them regardless of
Mhm.
all the stresses. Now, from your point of view, what are what have been the reasons some women have been ready to do it, and others have been like slacking, for you, for example?
It's very interesting. For me, the way I look at
Mm-hmm.
willpower is not necessarily about like the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about you embodying those habits that will really go a long way. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why sometimes we don't have the quote unquote willpower or we feel like we're slacking is
Yeah.
because we're doing too much. We're going from
Mm-hmm.
0 to like 1,000.
I
And
see.
one of the things that I really help, at least for people to start like understanding, is you got to have like a why that is
Mm-hmm.
stronger than your excuses, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
have to be willing to go 5 layers deep. You just can't say, well, I want to lose weight to be like a size 12. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the size doesn't really mean anything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then your body, your brain will catch that as well. And that's why it will be very easy for you to be like 2 days, you have like a restricting diet, and then over the weekends, you lose like a goose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think it's really understanding, first of all, like the why. Why am
Mm-hmm.
I doing this? Because if
Mm-hmm.
your why is strong, if your why is deep, then you will start like making those steps where you can be consistent, but you can also give yourself grace because it's not about
Mm-hmm.
perfection, but it's about consistency. Because,
Mm-hmm.
and again, life happens almost all the
Exactly.
time, and
Mm-hmm.
every day is going to look different from the next, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's, for me, it's really understanding the why. And even when I go over goal setting,
Mm-hmm.
although for some women it will help them to have like a goal, for example, I want to lose 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like to really get into what does that 20 pounds represent to you,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you also have this belief that in order for me to feel happy, in order for me to feel confident in my body, I have to weight a certain weight, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
always the case, because you
Mm-hmm.
can be joyful in the body that you have today. What makes you
Mm-hmm.
believe that you can't, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you start like getting into the why of, maybe you want to lose the weight to get off some medication, because I was
Mm-hmm.
pre-diabetic myself, and one of
Mm-hmm.
my why was I want to break that generational curse. On my
Mm-hmm.
dad's side, both of my grandparents died, from diabetes. When I was pregnant, I had gestational diabetes. So all along, somewhere along the way, I believed that I would end up diabetic. But
Mm-hmm.
from the moment that I told myself that it stopped in my generation, that my children are not going to have to deal with that, it changes the way I eat.
Mm-hmm.
It changed the way I take care of my body, because I wanted to get off the medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
by doing so, I start like, adopting some of those habits. Yes, it will help you lose the weight along the way, but the number on the scale was no longer something that held me hostage, because I was the type
Mm-hmm.
of person, I would weigh myself almost every day. And if I
Mm-hmm.
did like the number on the scale, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? The whole day would be messed up. My
Mm-hmm.
attitude, the way I will eat, because the scale was kind of like, directing like my life, impacting the way the day will go. And a lot of women
Mm-hmm.
go through these things. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, taking that power back of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is what I really want. And it can be surface level, because when it's surface level, you are going to stop at surface level, where you're going to give yourself 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then in
Mm-hmm.
the third week mark, that's when things get a little bit boring and just like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you fall back. And that's why sometimes people are like, okay, there's no willpower, but it's not about the willpower, it's the way you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you also start telling yourself, I can't eat this, that's what you're going to be craving.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
also looking like holistically at the nutrition, what you eat, the sleep, and everything. And it goes deeper to that too, like the people you have in your circle, because sometimes
Mm,
we don't even like pay attention, but when you have like toxic friends, or like they
mm,
impact your health, you may be like eating a
exactly.
lot, or like, finding comfort into food because you have an environment that is not conducive to you being successful, you
Mm,
know?
mm. Wow. This is really good things. And my sister Stephanie agrees with you. She's saying the why is important. The
The why
goal
is
is
very important.
the why. And
Yeah.
she agrees with your faith to break some generational curses. And
You
I also agree with that because a lot of people are like, oh, Pastor and therefore being the pastor has to be the one kicking out some
you
spirit.
mokope.
Meanwhile, you're the one
Mm-hmm.
eating all the junk and
Yeah.
being all unhealthy and not doing
Yeah.
your part.
And then, with you saying that, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
No. To me, like my faith has been one of the key elements in my journey.
Mm.
And I say that, and please don't judge me, Lady MK, because a lot of time, I will read the Bible. And one of
Mm,
my favorite Bible verse is, for I know the Psalm 139, whatever, I think it's 14 or 19. Like, for I know I was beautifully created and all this.
mm,
But do we really believe it?
mm,
Because
mm,
if you truly, truly in your heart of hearts believe that God took his time
mm,
to create you, to form you, then
mm,
why are you fighting the body that he gave you?
mm,
Why are you giving it junk? Why are you
mm,
treating it the way you're treating it that is not with love, with care, with acceptance, and with honor, right?
mm,
And
mm.
and it goes like very deeper than that,
Yes.
where you may be like genetically you will be like healthy at 150 pounds, right? You
Mm,
healthy at 150 pounds, but because in your mind you want to be 120 pounds, so you're
mm,
fighting against that, your body is resisting, so you spend like a lot of your adult years
mm.
dieting for a body that's you can't you, that is not like optimal for you,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm,
it's all of that. To me, really, it's kind of like, now I'm just like, okay, everybody's unique, everybody's beautiful, but we have to take care of us. You have to take care of your body. And I
mm.
think we also live in this culture where when you're big, you fat, whatever,
Yes.
like, people just
Yes.
feel like you're unhealthy. But there's
Mm,
health at every size, right? It's
mm,
not but just
mm,
like the way this health can be at every size, really. To me, it's also like looking at other biomarkers. If
mm,
you big, because you also have like thin people who have like high blood pressure,
mm, mm, mm,
right? So it's
mm,
also looking at all of that, but we so shallow that we only get stuck with the appearance, that when
mm,
somebody doesn't look as skinny as we think they should be,
mm.
then we start like body shaming, and we do a
Exactly.
lot of that in the communities that we are. And with the
Mm,
holidays coming, people are
mm,
literally like a lot of women that go into the frenzy of, oh my
mm,
god, like Thanksgiving's in next week, I may be
mm,
hosting dinner, I may be meeting people. Then what
mm.
happened when we see people, hey, you munene boy, it's like, but
Mm-hmm.
why,
You're gaining
right?
weight. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Or even when you're complimenting somebody, oh my God, you
Mm,
got so skinny. You don't know
mm.
exactly what you're complimenting, because that
Exactly.
person could be like binging, and then the next thing they do is really just like, purging,
Mm-hmm.
or they're cleansing, or they're going to other things, but you don't know exactly what you're complimenting and what you're
Mm-hmm.
encouraging by saying that, oh my God, I like the way you're skinny.
Mm, mm,
Right, but because to us, like, body greeting is acceptable, but it's not.
mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Very deep, very deep. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with the why. The why, just
Mm-hmm.
like we said earlier, the why. And in our community, as in other communities, I think it's all about acceptance, just being accepted and being welcomed and just being looked at. And
Mm-hmm.
that has to do as well with the men in our lives and the culture we're in. And there's a thing in our culture where they say "mwasi mwasi ndenzoto." A woman has to have some meat and some of
Mm-hmm.
that. Now, how to reconciliate to just join the two, the cultural background, the acceptance of the spouse and yourself. How are you going to make that
A
together?
lot of it also comes down to preferences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it really comes down to what is in alignment with yourself, because you can't please everybody. Where your dad will maybe saying like, okay, I like my daughter this, and then your husband is kind of like, oh yeah, to buy like your pamate for your munene. Or like somebody else might say, okay, we like, the thickness or whatever. So you may find yourself in a situation where you want to have like different bodies for different people, right? But it's really comes down to who you want to become and what that body, because the body is a vessel. And it can be tough, especially with our culture, because that's the message that we send, like the thickness, and then when you move to America, just like, oh my God, I'm like obese, right? But it's really about like, also what you like to see. Like for me personally, sometimes when I tell people my weight, they're like, oh my God, like I would never guess that you weigh this much. But I like me thick. I like me strong. I don't like me thin. Right. But for somebody else, they might look at you and look at me and be like, oh my God, like I can't take this. But it's really about like, like you, because you can't please everybody. And the culture plays a big role into it. But it's about also having like those conversations. And if you have a husband who wants something totally different than who you are, so we can only imagine the dilemma we can have, right? Because then you feel like, because it also impacts even how you feel in your body in the relationship, because you may not feel as attractive to your husband because the body that he wants you to have is not there.
It's
And
not
that's a topic for
reality.
another day.
Exactly, exactly. And my sister Stephanie asked a few questions. One of them is that she's asking, how do you then know which body God gave you? Because you mentioned something really deep. You
Mm,
said something that
you
God
know,
doesn't create us.
the way I like to think about it is, and again, it's a journey, and the body is not like exact science. But what
Yes.
I know is your body has wisdom.
Mm,
And
mm,
we have tuned out listening to that wisdom because of all the voices we have allowed ourselves to listen to. And most of them are the voices of that culture.
mm,
Because the way I like to think about it is my body's beautiful design. When I'm hungry, it tells me I'm hungry. But do I always
mm.
listen to that? No.
No.
Because I may be doing a diet where that tells me you can only eat from like noon to 8. Or I
Mm,
may be doing a diet that tells me you have to eat every 3 hours. So we have
mhm,
been dismissing listening to our bodies. Your body will tell you, but you have to be patient and willing enough to tune into that. And what does that look like?
mhm,
You may be going like on a diet, you lose the weight, but as soon as you start like eating what you should be eating, what happens? You gain the
mhm,
weight and sometimes even more,
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
So it's really about like finding that balance where, and if I can be vulnerable, when I start like this journey, even though I had like a deep why and everything, I
mhm,
still had like a weight goal in the back
mm,
of my mind. I was like, "Ngaka California koma pua oyo." You know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm,
And I felt like, doing what I need to do, what I knew how to do, and I was losing the weight in the process. But I got to a point where I was feeling good. Like I'm
mm,
feeling good in my body right now. It's not perfect. I have days when I look at it, I'm just like, oh my God, like what's going on? But overall, like I'm feeling good. Then I
mhm,
started asking myself, first of all, where did I get that weight goal out of?
mm, mm,
Right? Because right now, my mental health, which also, is a fact of how I feel in my body,
mhm,
I'm good. I feel good. So you
mhm,
can't really always have like a number, like you won't know. So I guess to answer Stephanie's question, it's not like an
mhm,
exact science where you know, okay, this is what I need, but your body will know. And you have like signals where like your skin will be clearer. You will just like feel good. Because, and again, I was speaking with somebody and we're talking about like cars and the body and everything. And I hate to make the comparison, but a lot of time you will hear people say, well, if your body was a car, this will happen and blah, blah, blah.
mm,
And the reality is, if our bodies were cars, a lot of us will be broke down on the roads waiting to
mhm,
be towed.
mhm,
But the beauty with our body is, despite the junk that we give it, despite us like not giving it like the water that it needs, or even like really pouring into it, your body still functions,
Exactly.
right? But it's giving you signals.
Mm.
Just like your car will give you signal, like an engine light, or like, you have to put oil, or like
Mm-hmm.
your gas tank is empty. Your body will give you signals, and those signals can look like your face breaking out. So tu
Mm-hmm.
dépenses l'argent chez des produits de la face, mais it's really about like, from the inside out. Your
Mm.
guts knows alcopola. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Your
it's really
inside is
what you
messed
eat.
up.
Like your body is giving you a signal, like, your blood pressure may be like high, or like, you have like a thyroid issue or kidney
Mm-hmm.
stones, whatever that is. It will still function, but it won't be like optimal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
again, like it's depend on like everybody, but like the more you are in tune with your body, you will know. There are some days where I'm like, this week I'm going to do like 6 workouts, and I like to really go hard, or I will dance or whatever. But then
Mm-hmm.
you wake up, you feel your body just needs the rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have to give yourself grace in that moment and tell yourself, am I just being lazy, or my body needs rest? But you will know. Nobody has to tell you, do this or do that. You have to come to a point where you feel comfortable making the decisions that works best for your body, and your
Mm-hmm.
body will love you back. It
Exactly.
will.
Exactly. There's a natural, way that the body readjusts to certain things
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing things at a place of peace, rather than
Correct.
a place of keeping up with certain things that you just can't,
Mm-hmm.
unrealistic expectations. And there's another
Mm-hmm.
question that really talks about, it's just aiming at the same direction as well. We're thinking about it's about the same cultural mindsets, and it's not only a Congolese thing, but apparently it's an African thing where gaining weight means you're healthy. Or your husband or wife is taking good care of you. Like newlywed, I expect you to have that big belly, and otherwise they'll be like, "Oh, your wife ain't taking care of you, must not lambati," or things like that. So,
Mm.
what do you think of that African mentality and how to approach it? In a way that again you're still at peace with your background and still at peace with your body.
Yeah. It also comes down to boundaries. But
Mm,
we have to recognize that there is a lot of work that needs to be done in that area. And
yes.
it's not something that's going to happen to change overnight. It's
Mm-hmm.
not something that's going to miraculously like disappear overnight, because it's been
Mm-hmm.
ingrained in us from like generation to generations, right? So it has to come to a point where you, the individual, has to be willing and comfortable having those some of those conversations where you set the
Mm-hmm.
boundaries and say that, okay, I'm not going to have this conversation, or I'm going to take care of me the way I need to take care of. Because what's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen next if they tell, okay, if and then you have all this big stomach, the next thing you know, you have all those
Change
other
everything.
medication to
Mm-hmm.
control your cholesterol level or whatnot, right? So they got to be a balance, just like with everything else, where they tell you, okay, you only have like 2 3 children, you gotta have 10. You're not gonna have 10 children if that's
Mm-hmm.
not what you want, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's also like, what it is that we allow, like what are the voices that we're allowed to listen to. And I'm no stranger to that, because to this day, like, I have people will tell me, oh, you work out so much on your coma catchers, like it's, so it's all about those, narrative, those programming, and they run deep. It's not
Mm-hmm.
something we are going to change today. And it's also depend on the dynamic where you may not even need to respond to anybody. Like if your mother-in-law
Mm-hmm.
tells you, okay, you're too skinny, you have to gain weight. What do you
Mm-hmm.
do?
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to respond, but does that mean you
Mm-hmm.
have to gain weight just to please her? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not, right? But there are
Mm-hmm.
some cases where, and it's not just a culture, where you may need to gain weight in order for you to be healthy. So
Mm-hmm.
gaining weight is not necessarily a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we gain so much that our biomarkers, like our
Mm-hmm.
hormonal levels and all those other things get jacked up, then we
Mm-hmm.
have a problem.
Exactly. I see what you're
It's
now saying.
definitely not going to be something that's going to change overnight. Absolutely not.
I feel you. I feel you on that one. Still, in terms of health, women's health and stuff, what would you suggest? How can you suggest for pregnant women to be healthy? Because there's all
Mm.
these, pictures and before and after. I don't know if you've seen those trends, those before and after pictures, and usually it's in a demeaning way where they say pregnancy will
Mm,
humble you. I don't know, they don't say it
mm,
in a way that it's a proud thing. No, it's a thing
mm,
where, oh, you thought you were beautiful until, well, you got knocked up and now look at you. You're all ugly, big nose, big pimples, and all these and that going on, whatever it is, big belly, and you have hard
mm.
time to regain. So what would you say about that? How can you be healthy during that time of pregnancy?
Hmm. That's a loaded question. But what I can tell you is I wish what I don't now, I knew it when I was pregnant with my own child.
Mm, mm,
One is if you have a doctor, obviously that doctor will also give like additional guidance because I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that.
yeah.
But the other thing is what we don't realize is, and again, I keep saying that culture, but it's so true. Like the media, the diet industry, they really pushes like a narrative
Mm-hmm.
where when you're pregnant, you have to look this way. You can only gain maybe like 10 pounds, or if you gain like 80 pounds, you have to lose everything by 2 months after giving the baby and all of that. But to me, one of the suggestions that I can make, if I may, is really exposing yourself to messaging that really help your mental health,
Mm,
messaging that can help you be the person that you need to be, because there's so many voices out there, right? Because
mm-hmm.
there are some pages on social media or some stories that really narrate something that may be similar to what you're going through. But if you don't go there and all you see is those messaging of you gotta look this, you gotta be this, then that's what you're going to go after. And if you don't see that, you're going to be frustrated with yourself and you're going to have
Mm,
all those expectations that you cannot attain in the first place. To me, it's what we expose ourselves. And there is such a thing as body diversity. There is such a thing as like health and wellness diversity. And we have to be open to those messaging, right? Of
mm-hmm.
being healthy at any size, being
Mm,
healthy when we're pregnant, and when we give birth, there is that time, because believe it or not, it takes about on average like 2 to 3 years for a
mm.
mother to come back to the pre-pregnancy body. But
Wow.
that's not the message that we hear on the
No,
on
we have
social
a
media, like,
snap back
right?
of 3 weeks.
Exactly. And then the other thing that we forget is those celebrities, they have a chef, they have a trainer, they have
Mm,
nannies, they have,
mm,
all the help that you don't have. You're the only
mm-hmm.
one. You may be the one like waking up at night while your husband is like, hey, occupe un peu de cet enfant, like, because he gotta go to work or for whatever reason. So you also
Absolutely.
have to take that into consideration. Like, what are we comparing ourselves to?
Mm-hmm. 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 That's so true. So true. So true. We're comparing ourselves to people who have the resources we don't have access to.
We don't have access to. At least not
Absolutely.
all of them, right? And that
Yes.
makes like the journey a little bit different, right? So
Yes.
to me,
But
it's really
again,
about finding peace.
mm-hmm. But again, I mean, there's still that it's not like whatever we say, because someone will be like, "Oh, we're trying to make excuses for those who don't even want
Mm,
to." Because some people just give up. They just give up. Oh,
mm,
na boti, oh, na, that's it. I'm just gonna let myself go because it is what it is. But again, the whole point of this, for someone who's watching us, the tendency might you might feel like, oh, you're just making up excuses and things like that. No,
mm.
the point is to understand the process
Yeah.
rather than the
And
end goal.
yeah, and then when you make excuses, deep down you are making excuses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Deep down
Mm-hmm.
you are making excuses, right?
Yes.
And we see that a lot too, where growing up I will see people like after birth they're still like their pretty self, they try to take care of themselves. I mean, it's still hard, like it's challenging, but they try. But you also have the bucket of those who just like, they just like let go, you know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm,
So,
mm,
and again, it's hard to find that balance. And to me, that's where even like the communities the support that we have around us is very important, because I want to at least believe that all of us, I hope, have
mm.
women in our corner who can tell you, Lady MK, you're doing too much. We need to kind of, come back this way. right?
Mm,
Or you're not
mhm,
taking care of yourself. But if you don't have those voices, it can be challenging. You need to have a community of lioness. You need to have a community of people who can really help you be your best self. And if
mm,
you don't, and you just let go, you'll feel in your body. You're feeling like you're just like sluggish, and then you don't even feel good about yourself. Then it's kind of like, what kind of life you want to live with that?
very
Right. And
true.
it takes a wake up call, because I've been there myself. Like, it takes a wake up call, but sometimes it can take forever. Right. And it gets to a point where, because you have let go of yourself so much, that you start having like trust issues with everybody.
Mm,
You
mm,
can't be the friend that you need to be to other people. You start having
mm.
all those storylines. We don't realize how, I'm telling you, we don't realize
Yes,
how not taking care of ourselves impacts other areas of our
of our
lives.
life,
And if you're
exactly.
working, you're like a career woman.
Mm,
I've been to places where you walk into the room, right? You have the
mm,
competence, you have the qualifications, but
mm.
because you don't feel good in your body, you leave the confidence at the door as you're
Absolutely.
walking down the room, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
then the worst thing is, because you live in an area of, I'm living in between losing weights, or like, you're
mm,
still keeping clothes in your closet that don't even fit you. So
mm,
that day you dressed up with something that did not flatter you, that did not fit you,
mm,
because it's like temporary clothes or things like that. So it's
mm,
impacting your performance. Sometimes we say no to opportunities because we feel like, well, I don't have the body that I need,
mm,
right? So
mm,
it's really important for us to take care of us, because it's not just about us, like I was saying, it's about us too. The more you take
mm,
care of yourself, like, the confidence just like skyrockets, right? And you also
mm,
start attracting good vibe, good people around you, and you want to be your own friend too.
mm,
Right, you don't want
mm,
to be like all looking raggedy all the time, being stressed. You want to feel joyful and be like, I like to have fun with myself. And again, I'm not
mm,
saying that's how it looks every day, because I have my down moments. I have days where I'm
mm,
just like crying and I don't know what's going on, but it's part
mm,
of the human journey. It's part of like humanness, right?
mm,
But we have to try our best as mothers. And to me,
mm,
not only for us, but for our children, even for our spouses, right? Our
mm,
families, like, what messaging are we sending? And honestly,
mm.
when you don't take good care of yourself, you're just not a better wife. You're not a better
Yeah,
friend. You just, all of those
yeah.
things really, they play a role into that.
They do, they really do. And I really like that because a lot of things that we complain about actually have to do with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it just start off with ourselves, where we are, the
Exactly.
level of peace we are with our bodies, the way we
Mm-hmm.
look, and what we do and don't do. And
Mm-hmm.
that also brings me back to another assumption a lot of people have about this whole wellness and self-care thing. It's all about, the way it's portrayed, selfness, self-love and all that, it's a little more on a seductive, tone. So a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't like to go in there because they're like, oh, I already have a husband, I have kids, who am I trying to impress? So there's also that stops a lot. And plus, have you noticed that a lot of female workout outfits are a lot more seductive and revealing? They're a lot more revealing, a lot more out there. How can you help someone struggling with that? They're just like, I don't want to go that way because I'm not trying to be or cheat on my wife or husband because I already have this person and I'm at a place of contentment. Je suis heureuse là où je suis. What can you say
Then,
about
si
that?
tu es heureuse là tu es, then there's nothing I can tell you.
Mm,
Right?
mm, mm,
Because if you're truly happy and tu es heureuse avec ce que tu as, avec le corps que tu as, then do you, right? It's all
mm,
about like doing you. But if you want to get to a point where it's just like, okay, I need to make those changes, then there's always like a path to you. And that's what I was saying earlier. You have to redefine it in a way that works for you. Not
mm,
everybody wants to wear like the sexy outfit or whatever. For me, sometimes I'm just like, okay, it's fitness couture. Today I want to look good, because when I look good, I'm benching harder, whatever that is, right? And there's other
mm,
days I'm just like, you know what? I just want to look like, pajama workout or whatever. So there's a balance in everything. It really
mm,
comes down to what it is that you want, and get
mm,
clear with that, because
mm,
not everything is for everybody, right?
mm,
But like,
mm,
to say that, well, I already have a husband, then I'm not going to take care of me or whatever. that's something that kills us, because we also want
Mm,
to be eye candies for our husbands, right? And
mhm,
sometimes I look at my husband, like I feel so bad, because I'm like, oh my God, he had to put up with all of me, all of that. And even though he never always say anything, but we human, and those
mm,
things, they are in the back of your minds, and the
mm,
eyes is wondering whether we like it or not, right? So
mhm,
it's not just for them, but it's also, it's, I think for me, it comes from like, it starts with you,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Do it for you first,
mhm.
right? And then if you want to do it for somebody else, then you do it for that person. But don't use the excuse of, well, I already have this husband or whatnot, that I'm not going to take care of myself. That's ludicrous.
I feel you on that one. I feel you. Now, do you need a gym membership to be healthy?
No, you do not. Absolutely not. And the reason why I say that, I was in lockdown last year, and I
Mm,
was working in my home, right?
mm,
And then again, that's why I keep saying, like, we have to redefine what is working out or like body movement. And I don't like to use the word workouts, because
mm,
for me it was always associated like with losing weight, something like like training like hard and stuff like that. I like
mhm,
to really think about it as like body movements,
mm,
because your body was designed to move. And that body movement can be as simple as a 10 minutes walk. And
mhm,
and again, it's all about like incorporating those little things that you can commit to. I'm
mhm,
still working from home. I go to the office like once a week or so. So
mhm,
what I've done, like I will block out my schedule and things like that, where like every couple hours I will get up.
mhm,
I may walk just like 5 minutes, and that
mm,
gives me like, I do like 10 minutes walk, and it's
mhm,
quarter of a mile. By the end of the day, I have like my 1 mile, right? So it's not
mhm,
just like, I don't always have like that 30 minutes.
mhm,
Cleaning the house counts. Or when you go to like the grocery store, you park a
mhm,
little further. So it's all those little things. So you
mm,
kind of have
mm,
to make it part of your lifestyle. But when
mm.
we get hung up on is, I gotta have a gym membership, where and a lot of us have gym membership that we don't even go to. That's the
I
truth.
agree. That's so true.
And then sometimes, like, for like a lot of what I do is, I love to dance, and I will
Mhm,
dance to like Congolese music, because it's high tempo. Ma chère,
mhm,
je te dis que tu peux avoir une même chanson, like trois, comment jump and jack, ou bien tu fais seulement la
mhm,
chorégraphie, you sweating like something else,
mhm,
and you feel good, and that's it. And that's my workout,
mm,
right? So you
mm,
do not need a gym membership. You just have to really figure out. And with today's, like, with everything being online, like YouTube, Zumba, what you can literally find anything that you want. But it has to be something that you look forward to. Because
mhm,
to me, I really look at working out as a blessing. And one
mm,
of the things that dancing has done for me is, I'm more in tune with the body that I have, because with the
mhm,
dancing, with the movements, I feel more feminine. I'm
mm,
owning my power as a woman. I like my curves. I understand. I have a better appreciation of how my body moves, like how we folds, how we
mhm,
shafts, like, how the thighs jiggles. Because, and again, when we see these pictures over the internet, we just want everything to be flat. But the reality is, when you sit down, you're going to have some fats, underneath, like your stomach and everything. Or when you're walking, there's some shuffling that can be happening.
mm,
But those are
mhm,
not the stories that we see. But when you're in tune in your body, you learn to appreciate that, right? And it can be the little things where, am I walking? Am I like raising my hand? Whatever that is. And I think we have walked away so much from gratitude and appreciation, that we only look at what we can do. We only look at, okay, I can go to the gym, I can do that. We have this all or nothing type of mentality. Because I can't go to the gym, I'm not going to work out. No, just because
mhm,
you can't go to the gym, you can still work out. What else can you do?
mm, mm, mm,
Because when you open yourself to those possibilities, it's endless.
mhm,
I sprained my ankle in early February. And
mhm,
I was devastated, because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to be working out? But I'm grateful that I had somebody in my corner who was like, okay, I'm giving you a week. I had like the boots on. You know what
mhm,
we start doing? Seated cardio. I didn't even know there was such a thing as like cardio you can do on a chair.
mm,
So I will
mm,
put my leg with my boots to the side. I will sit on the chair, and I will be like, kickboxing or whatever.
mm,
It was like all upper body. But again, it's allowing yourself. And because when you start like saying yes, and you start seeing like other opportunities of, how can I make this work, you are
mm,
going to make it work. And one day is Monday is not going to look like Wednesday, and you learn to give yourself grace. But then again, I know I'm kind of like, going on and on, but you do not need a gym membership to work out.
Mm,
Not at all.
mm, mm. I agree with you on that. My sister Stephanie Resin had a really good point. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
self-love, do the things for the right motives, change for you
Yes.
because you're at a place of peace. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is that in a couple, some people lost their partners because their place of peace wasn't peaceful to the partner. So in that
Mm-hmm.
case, how to, join the two? Because you don't want to lose your partner or shock them
So here
drastically.
the thing, and that's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not a therapist, so don't quote me on this. I'm not a pastor. I'm not trying to break out families, but
Yes.
it really comes down also to communication, what we want. And
Yes.
also maybe, and again, I'm trying to be careful with this
Mm-hmm.
because some of the relationship that we have, the love is there because of the dysfunction. Somebody's, dysfunctional, or somebody's not healed, and
Mm-hmm.
they're being taken advantage of. Because
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's kind of like, if I am my best self,
Mm-hmm.
why would you want to leave me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Or
Yes.
why would you want to be in a position where you don't want me to do the things that I need to do for me to be a better person?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's where, like, and it can be scary because when you're used to a person, and I think that's why there's, like, a lot of statistics where when people start losing a lot of weight, they carry themselves a different way, and the partner
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really know how to take them, and a lot of divorces happen. It's
Mm.
not unusual, right? But it
Yes.
really, and there's no, I mean, I don't really have an answer for that, because to me it's all about also, like, how can we make our partner understand that? And
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that can happen overnight, because
Exactly.
especially if it's a relationship that's happened, like, that has, like, history, and your
Mm-hmm.
history is the identity of the relationship is you being this way, you looking this way, and now you're doing all of this. The other partner may feel like, where does that leave me? And it
Mm-hmm.
can come to a place where you have to affirm them and make them feel heard, understood, and loved, so that they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like you getting better is a threat to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't know if that resonates, but, and again, this is really deep.
It is deep. It is deep. Yes, Sister Stephanie. No, we understand it's not definitely your case in your family,
Mhm.
but again, it's general. A lot of
Oh no, it
families.
happens a
It
lot.
happens a
Oh
lot. It
yeah.
happens a lot. You won't believe. You're asking for a lot of people actually,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh
it's a
yeah.
blessing.
Hmm.
It is a blessing because a lot of people struggle with this, and I personally think that goes back to the beginning, the dating period before you walk down that aisle. Make sure you're dealing with
Hmm.
somebody who knows what exactly means for better and for worse,
Hmm.
because things will
Exactly.
change. He will change too. Things will
Yeah, and then,
change.
and every relationship has a dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once the dynamic changes, the people involved start, like, questioning certain things,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that also makes it, like, challenging. And I really like that question, because I'm gonna sit down on it, myself, because
Yes.
it's not uncommon, it's not unusual.
Yes.
And those are the questions that we need to start, like, asking. We need to start having discussions around it, because we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about it.
Yes.
It does happen a lot where, like, relationship, the woman or even, like, the husband, they start losing weight, or, like, they start making changes or bettering themselves. The other person
Midlife
feels threatened,
crisis.
especially when you are left behind. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes a problem. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I strongly encourage people, when they start making this, going on this journey. And again, people, individuals, you can't force people, you can't control people, but try to make it as a family,
Mm-hmm.
because it can be very challenging to do it on your own. Like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
in nutrition, you cook something else, they eat something else, or you're doing this, and everybody kind of feel like, okay, we can't do this with you, right? Then it becomes
Yes.
like a burden, it becomes challenging. But when you do it together, you strengthen the relationship, you have something else to bond over, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it just makes you, like, better individuals. And again, it doesn't mean like there won't be any challenges. There will always
Mm-hmm.
be challenges, because we are humans at the end of the day. And there's always that part of, what if that person changes so much? Where does that leave me?
Very true, very true. That's exactly where, all these major changes have to be done,
Mm,
with the communication, a lot of communication
yes.
going on, and a lot of agreements, and clearly common sense as well, because it's something that the couple might want, that one of the partners might want. Oh, I want you thick, but
Mm,
again, the doctors are saying it's unhealthy. She's pre-diabetic, or
mm,
she's, it's risky.
mm.
So it's all about communication and just a good heart.
Ah bien. Mais ce n'est pas facile, hein, ce n'est vraiment pas. Et on le dit, on ne le dit pas avec légèreté non plus, mais
Mm,
il faut aussi se rendre compte que les gens ne changent pas overnight.
mm, mm,
Et tu peux avoir ces conversations over and over. Si la personne est déterminée à être ancrée dans ce qu'elle pense que et à bongo, it
mm.
can be very hard, right? Et tu te
Yes.
retrouves dans des cas où la femme ne dort presque pas. Right? Parce que tu te dis,
Oui.
OK,
Very
je fais pas ce
anxious.
qu'il veut, tu vois. And
Mm,
then ça affecte aussi ta santé, surtout la santé morale. Et quand ta santé morale est affectée, ça affecte la façon dont tu prends soin de tes enfants, ça affecte la façon how you show up at work, it affects everything, right? Mais
mhm,
ce ne sont pas
mhm.
des conversations qui sont nécessairement faciles. Et il y a de
Ouais.
ces cas où vous aurez peut-être besoin d'un
Thérapeute.
marriage counselor, d'un
Yes.
of a therapist or things like that, because ce ne sont pas des conversations faciles. On le dit ici, il faut parler et tout, mais ce n'est pas
The
facile.
way to go about it.
Surtout quand il y a cette identité-là qui se détache, ce
Mm,
n'est pas facile
yes.
du
Yes.
tout.
Yes. That's true. Until we meet again next time, I'm Lady Marilyne Keto, and this was Coach LT.
Thank
And
you.
bye bye.
Bye.